I take everything like that with a pinch of salt, really, because you can't say who's best.
The stage lights fall and the arena hums. A single figure steps into the glow, curly hair haloed in white light, a handmade guitar gleaming like a relic from another world. To millions of fans, Brian May is the gracious genius of Queen, the Oxford-educated astrophysicist who once built his own red special in a small English workshop.
Me and my dad set about making the guitar. Really, it happened because we couldn't afford a guitar. I couldn't afford a Stratocaster.
And went on to soundtrack a generation. His riffs launched anthems like We Will Rock You and Bohemian Rhapsody, yet his public persona has always been one of gentle intellect and quiet charm. But whispers inside the music industry tell a different story. One of a mind that measures greatness with almost scientific precision and never forgets when it feels a colleague has cheapened the art form. Friends say May keeps mental notes like an astronomer charting distant stars, cataloging every guitarist who in his view mistakes speed for soul or theatrics for true innovation. For decades, these private judgments remained behind the curtain. Then came scattered comments, off-the-record quips, and industry recollections that hinted at something more. A secret list of guitarists whose celebrated reputations, May believed, betrayed the very essence of music. Tonight we explore those 6 names, players whose styles, successes, or philosophies reportedly drew the quiet but cutting criticism of rock's most cerebral guitar architect. This is not a tale of barroom feuds or tabloid brawls. It is a story of ideology, of a scientist-musician defending melody and architecture against what he saw as empty flash. Prepare to meet the 6 celebrated guitarists who, according to insiders and old interviews, most provoked Brian May's razor-sharp disapproval. 1. Yngwie Malmsteen. When Sweden's Yngwie Malmsteen burst onto the 1980s metal scene, guitar magazines treated him like the next evolutionary leap. His neoclassical runs blurred into a lightning storm of sound, each arpeggio faster than the last. Young players timed themselves to his records, chasing a speed few could match. Brian May, however, reportedly heard something else: emptiness. Former Polydor Records executive Chris Wright remembers late-night conversations where May dissected Malmsteen's albums as if conducting a physics experiment. He can play 1,000 notes per minute, May is said to have remarked, but he's saying absolutely nothing with any of them. To May, it was like listening to someone recite a phone book at superhuman speed. May's frustration wasn't born of jealousy. He admired classical complexity and spent years layering harmonies until a single guitar became an orchestra. What troubled him was priority. Music, he argued, should be narrative, a story told through sound, while Malmsteen seemed to treat it as an athletic contest. The contrast sharpened as magazines began ranking fastest guitarists alive, elevating velocity over vision. May declined to join such panels, reportedly quipping, "I'd rather be remembered for one meaningful melody than a million meaningless scales." To him, technique was a means, never the end. Malmsteen's fireworks might dazzle an audience for a night, but May believed they left no emotional footprint. Even decades later, when Malmsteen's fans defended his virtuosity, May held firm. "Speed without purpose," he told guitar player in the late 80s, "is just musical gymnastics. Fascinating for a moment, forgettable forever." 2. Slash. By the end of that decade, another figure dominated the covers of guitar magazines: Saul Hudson, better known as Slash. With his signature top hat, curtain of curls, and ever-present cigarette, Slash projected pure rock and roll rebellion. For a generation of fans, he embodied authenticity, raw, unpolished, dangerous. Brian May remained unconvinced.
It's quite feisty when I was
It wasn't a
younger.
linear process, was it? It was bits and pieces, you get in this world of sort of...
According to former Geffen Records marketing director Al Corey, May watched the rise of Guns N' Roses with clinical skepticism. "Saul is playing a character he invented for the cameras," May reportedly told Corey. "The hat, the hair, the cigarettes. It's all costume drama designed to sell rebellion instead of earn it. To understand May's reaction, consider his own journey. He had evolved from a shy physics student into an arena-filling guitarist by slow, organic steps. Years of experimentation with homemade gear, endless gigs, and a personal sound no stylist could package. Slash, by contrast, seemed to May like a Hollywood construct, a brand of designer danger that invited imitation more than inspiration. The two eventually shared festival bills, but insiders recall awkward encounters. At a 1990 guitar exhibition, May allegedly refused a joint photo op, later telling his publicist, "I won't validate someone who's turned guitar playing into method acting." Slash's influence on young guitarists, kids adopting the pose before mastering the craft, only deepened May's misgivings. None of this denied Slash's chops. May respected his blues rock phrasing. What he questioned was intent. Was this rebellion or marketing? For a man who believed music must be lived before it is played, the carefully packaged bad boy persona felt like a betrayal of the guitar's honest spirit. 3. Steve Vai. If Malmsteen represented speed and Slash embodied image, Steve Vai stood for formal precision. A graduate of Berklee College of Music and a one-time protege of Frank Zappa, Vai amazed audiences with elastic whammy bar theatrics and immaculate technique. Critics hailed him as proof that guitar had entered the realm of high art. Brian May remained cool. Producer Mike Varney recalls May listening to Vai's early solo albums with detached admiration. "Steve plays every note exactly as his professors taught him," May reportedly observed, "but there's no personal journey in any of it. He's executing exercises instead of expressing experiences." May's own path could not have been more different. He and his father built the Red Special from old fireplace wood and motorcycle springs, learning through failure and discovery. He believed that unique sound came from years of trial, error, and the courage to break rules. Formal schooling, he worried, risked producing technicians who could replicate brilliance without ever chasing it. At a 1989 seminar, May posed a pointed question to music students. "If you learn the rules before you feel the music, will you sound like a textbook instead of a human being?" To him, Vai's flawless execution illustrated the danger. Music so correct it lacked the scars of adventure. Of course, Vai never apologized for his education, and fans adored his boundary-pushing albums. Yet to May, he symbolized the institutionalization of creativity, proof that artistry measured by grades could lose the messy human spark that turns notes into memories. 4. Joe Satriani. When Joe Satriani released Surfing with the Alien in 1987, the instrumental guitar album stunned the industry. Here was a record with no vocals climbing the charts and pulling sold-out crowds. For many players, it was a revelation. Guitar could speak for itself. Brian May admired Satriani's tone and melodic sensibility.
There's something called there's a track called "Was It All Worth It," which sums up our whole career in a way. That's very interesting.
Yet, according to former Relativity Records executive Cliff Coulter, he struggled with the concept. "Joe's created beautiful guitar landscapes," May reportedly said, "but he's removed the human voice that gives music its emotional anchor. It's like building a house without doors." May had spent his career weaving guitar parts around Freddie Mercury's vocals, believing the instrument should enhance a lyric's message, not replace it. Satriani's decision to eliminate vocals entirely felt to him like a philosophical rupture. Witnesses at a 1991 music conference recall May warning that instrumental rock was music for musicians instead of music for people. To him, the guitar's highest purpose was to serve a song's emotional narrative. Virtuosity without words risked becoming a private conversation among technicians. Satriani, of course, saw things differently. His records proved that melody alone could move audiences to tears, and he never apologized for chasing that vision. But in May's quiet ledger, Satriani represented a dangerous detour, a reminder that dazzling craftsmanship can, in his view, drift into self-contained art that forgets the wider world. 5. Eddie Van Halen. If any guitarist defined late 1970s rock innovation, it was Eddie Van Halen. His blistering, two-handed tapping turned the electric guitar into a fireworks display. Yet the very acclaim that crowned Eddie as a revolutionary reportedly gnawed at Brian May. Former Warner Brothers executive Ted Templeman remembers May poring over press clippings and lamenting that Eddie gets praise for one flashy technique while I've been revolutionizing guitar orchestration for years without anyone noticing. May had pioneered multi-layered arrangements, turning a single homemade instrument into a choir of harmonies, yet headlines celebrated Van Halen's party-ready pyrotechnics. Real innovation, May told Guitar Player in 1981, should expand what guitar can accomplish musically, not just what it can do physically. Kipro. To him, finger tapping was clever but narrow, a circus trick overshadowing deeper compositional breakthroughs. Industry colleagues recall an awards ceremony where May deliberately avoided Van Halen's table, later muttering to his manager, "History remembers the showman, not the architect." Ironically, Eddie often praised Queen's layered sound, seemingly unaware of any tension. For May, the imbalance of recognition stung more than any personal slight. It became a case study in how spectacle can eclipse substance, how a single dazzling move can rewrite history while quieter innovations remain unsung. 6. Jimmy Page. Finally, we reach the rivalry that insiders describe as Brian May's most enduring grievance. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. In the early 1970s, Page was hailed as rock's ultimate guitar composer, a visionary blending blues, folk, and mysticism into something mythic. Critics showered him with praise as the genius of hard rock. May, meanwhile, was building equally complex symphonic arrangements within Queen, multi-tracked harmonies, intricate modulations, orchestral layers crafted from a single guitar. According to former EMI executive Ken Townsend, May would analyze Zeppelin albums with scientific precision, frustrated that Page's blues-based structures earned the label of art, while Queen's more elaborate pop rock was dismissed as craft. Music journalist Charles Shaar Murray later quoted May calling it academic snobbery, arguing that critics exalted blues lineage while undervaluing pop sophistication. Privately, May reportedly described some of Page's celebrated riffs as primitive blues extensions, clever but harmonically simple compared with Queen's layered architecture. Jimmy Page represents everything wrong with musical criticism, May allegedly told Confidence. Blues gets called art, while pop gets called craft, regardless of complexity. Page, ever discreet, never fueled the feud, and even expressed admiration for Queen. But for May, the contrast symbolized an enduring injustice, a world where genre prejudice obscured true innovation. These 6 names, Malmsteen, Slash, Vai, Satriani, Van Halen, and Page, map the quiet battleground of Brian May's artistic philosophy. They are not enemies in any tabloid sense. Many never even sensed his critique. Rather, they represent the tensions that shaped his career: speed versus substance, image versus authenticity, technique versus emotion. To the public, May remains the gentleman scientist who wrote "We Will Rock You" and earned a PhD in astrophysics. Yet behind that calm smile lies a relentless thinker who measures music the way he measures stars, by structure, purpose, and enduring resonance. Was he defending the soul of the guitar, or simply seeking overdue recognition for his own innovations? Perhaps both. What is certain is that May's quiet judgments force every musician and listener to confront a timeless question. Is music about dazzling technique, glamorous persona, or the invisible architecture that makes a melody unforgettable? What do you think? Was Brian May safeguarding the heart of rock or guarding his own legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if this deep dive revealed a new side of Queen's guitar architect, and subscribe for more untold stories from music's hidden rivalries. Because in the end, it is not the fastest run or the loudest amp that endures. It is the melody that outlasts the noise.